Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. This is part 3 video on .NET Web API CRUD operation using one-to-many relationship tables. So in this video, we are going to implement the create operation. Okay, so here we are going to create an endpoint that will create a new record in customer table as well as customer addresses table. Okay, so for that, let's create our HTTP post endpoint. Because it is create, right? We have to use post attribute. Okay. So let's add new action method. Give a name like post. Okay. Post itself represents some payload must be received by the method. So here, let me create the payload of type our customer. Okay. Payload customer. Okay. Decorated with HTTP post. Since we have only one post method, no need to specify route explicitly. Now what I can do, I will use context and customer dot add. Okay, since this payload is contains collection of addresses, right? So user can send the collection of addresses in the payload. Okay, and finally we need to call save changes async method. So here in this add method, when we pass our payload, it will change the state of the context. Okay. So when we call the save changes async method, it will execute the changes against the database. Okay. And finally, if you want, you can use directly OK method also for post. Okay. But there is one specific method. Okay. That is like created. It's going to return value like status code like 201. Okay, here first parameter should be the URL. What is that URL? We will discuss. And second parameter will be our customer object. We just created, right? So that object. So what is my object? Payload customer. Okay, this URL is nothing but for the UI or any front-end purpose who is consuming our API. So it will add that URL in the header so that if they have a requirement to check the newly added record, they can call that API. That means we need to create a one more get endpoint, but it results or filters the results by the ID value. Okay. So let me create a one more get endpoint. Okay. Let's copy paste this. Okay. Since now we have two get endpoints, I need to specify the route explicitly. And this get endpoint will receive a ID, customer ID. Okay. So here in the route, I simply assign the ID value. Okay, this is flower brackets mean that is an expression. Okay, so it will contain the ID value in the route. Okay, now here we need to do some changes in the query. So my old DB content customer dot include. Yes, we need to include the addresses also, but we have to filter and fetch the single customer. So here we have to write the filter with where method, link you where method. So ID equal to ID. So here in my case, customer will be single, right? So I have to use first or default async method. Okay, this is going to return the single record by ID. Now if we test, our post method will fail. Okay, why it will fail? We will understand in next step. Okay, now let's rerun my application and go to Swagger page. Here you can see two more new puts are added with post and get by ID. So let's test post. Okay, so click on tryout. So it is new record, right? I can remove the ID and I can remove the ID in the con consumer address because they will automatically create it. Customer ID also I can remove because it is a foreign key that comes from the customer ID. Okay, and here we won't send any customer object. Let's remove it. Okay, let me give first name. Okay, last name and phone number. Give me some random phone number. Okay, and city and country. Okay, now let's execute. Click on execute. If you observe here, it is throwing as a 400 means bad request. It is expecting customer also. So what this means? So if I open my customer address class, here you can see, right? We have a navigation property. Here expecting this object also. Okay. So we cannot use normal table classes when we have navigation property with cycle reference object. Cycle reference object means we know, right? Each class will have other class as a navigation property, right? We should have only one way. So these classes we cannot use as a payload object. So what I can do, I will create DTOs. DTOs are nothing but data transfer objects. Okay, those are exact replica for our entities, but we don't have a circular object reference. We will have only one way. Okay, so let's create the DTOs. Create a folder, name it like DTOs, and create a class like customer DTO. Here is our customer DTO class. It contains exact properties in customer class. Okay, copy all these properties, okay, and add them here. So we haven't created customer addresses DTO, comment it. Okay. Now let's create customer addresses DTO class. Customer addresses DTO. Here is our customer addresses DTO class. It should contain all the properties of customers. Okay. Copy. Okay. Do it here. Okay. And now we have to enable the collection property in the customer DTO class. Okay. So enable it and change the type to customer DTO. Okay. And in the customer addresses, we have to remove the customer's DTO reference because the main idea is we want to break the circular reference object, right? So by removing this object only, this property only, that circular reference will break. Okay, now there is a relationship between the DTOs, but one-to-many relationship. Okay, means it is one-way relation, not two-way relation. Okay, so now I can use DTO classes. Okay, where we have only one-way relation, where consumer DTO contains collection of addresses. Customer addresses DTO contains only its property. Okay, so now what we can do, I will update this payload type to customer DTO. Okay, now we have to, so from the payload, whatever users Now users and payload type is customer DTO. Our database context class type is customer. So we have to map them. So one way to map them is, let me create a private method for mapping. Okay. Private return customer type. Okay. And map customer object. Okay. And to this object, let's input our customer DTO payload. Okay. Payload. So I have to map it. So first let me create result equal to my customer object. Okay. Customer. Okay. So now I can map each individual property like first name, payload dot first name, last name, payload dot last name. Okay. And result dot phone, payload dot phone, result dot customer address is equal to initialize the collection object first. Okay. Now we have to loop. Okay. Now what I will do, payload addresses dot, this is a collection, right? So I can use for each extension method. Okay. Okay. Like this we can loop. So here underscore will be our each individual customer addresses from the user payload. Now what we can do, where new address equal to new customer address. Okay. Now each object. So new address dot city equal to underscore dot city. Okay. New addresses dot country equal to underscore country. Since it is a new object, right? Since it is a creation, right? We no need to specify the uh, customer address ID and the customer ID also. Okay, what I mean to say is no need to assign this and this value and this value also. Only city and country is enough in this loop. Okay, so finally result dot customer addresses dot add new address. Okay, so what I am doing to this collection, I am adding newly mapped addresses. Okay. Finally, return the customer object. Okay. Return result. So now I can use this variable. Okay. So where, sorry, now I can use this method where new customer equal to, okay, map customer object, pass our payload customer. Okay. Now send this customer value. Okay. And this also. Here we are not passing the URL, right? I forgot it previously. Just do customer. So here I want to add dynamic. Okay. So dollar and here open flower brackets and new customer dot ID. Okay, I am generating the URL first parameter. Okay, now let's check it. It should create the both address and customer address records. Okay, so let's rerun the application. So let me try to insert again. I can remove this ID from here, customer ID. Okay, so let's add first name, last name, phone number, Guntur, okay, country. If I click on execute, see here, I got 201 created and the response body also coming. And here the URL comes as a location address. So any Angular or JavaScript application consuming our API, they can use this URL. So if we go to my customer, get customer and try, we will get this is my old existing record and this is our newly added record. And if you observe here, the customer ID and ID must be same, right? This is foreign key of the customer address table. Okay, so that means we have successfully inserted with single call. We inserted both the records, right, into parent and the child also. And if you see here, the insertion query, here is the log. Okay, so if you scroll up, here you can see first it is inserting into the customer and then it is inserting into the customer addresses. Okay, everything is taken care by the NT framework core itself. Okay, so here I am doing manual mapping, right? Instead of like this, you can use automapper. So let's change our code to use the automapper. Okay, so first thing is we need to install a library that is related to automapper, such like automapper.extensions.microsoft.dependency injection. Copy the command. Open terminal. Okay, clear the terminal, paste the command and install it. Okay, automapper package is successfully installed. To cross check, go to CS project file and look for the reference. Here is the automapper package reference. Okay, now what we have to do means next step after installing the package, we have to create a profile file. Okay, so on the root folder, let me create profile. Okay, I will name it like app mapper profile. You can give any name. Okay, now to this app mapper profile class, we have to inherit profile. Okay, that loads from the auto mapper. Okay, so inside of this class, inside of the constructor, we have to register the mapping. Okay, which objects to be mapped. Okay, so to create the map, you can use create map, and here we have to specify the which object is source and which object is destination. In our case, DTO is source and entities are destination, right? So first, if you hover here, you can see first type is source and second type is destination. So consumer DTO, comma consumer. Okay, let's import namespaces. Sorry, customer, right? Customer DTO and customer. Okay, now I mapped DTO to entity, customer DTO to entity. I registered here. Same way, let's map our customer addresses also. So customer address DTO will be our source and customer address will be our destination and object. Okay. So this is how we have to register inside of the profiler class. Okay. Now in program.cs, we have to register the automapper service. Okay. So that is like builder dot services dot add auto mapper. Okay, and to this we have to provide the assembly file name because it will automatically fix for profile classes if you pass the assembly name. So our assembly is our root project only, right? So to pass the assembly name, what we can do means type of, and our program.cs is the root file, right? So I can simply pass program.cs file class name. So internally it will, what will do, it will give fully qualified namespace, means this namespace, our project namespace, okay? Current assembly namespace. Configuration automapper done. Now go to our controller, okay? I can comment this private method, okay? And I have to inject the imapper service, okay? And import namespace, inject imapper, okay? Mapper equal to mapper. Now, instead of this method, what I will do, underscore mapper service dot map, and I have to specify the destination object type. Our destination object type is consumer, right? Sorry, customer. And inside of it, we have to pass our payload, means customer DTO type must be input. So it, sorry, is payload. Okay. So we have already configured, right? Customer DTO must be converted into customer. So it will read that configuration and it will change the type of payload to our customer type. Okay. That's it. Now we can get rid of this entire method, manual mapping. Okay. So here we are doing customer only, right? But internally, since we have already registered customer addresses also, so it will automatically map child classes as well. Okay. So let me insert one more record now. Okay. First, let me rerun my application. Okay. Let's try to insert new record and remove IDs since it is a new record. Okay. 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 Let me insert. See, now also I got success. Means with with the help of automat mapper also, I am able to map the source and destination objects very easily. Okay. So that's all about create operation where we insert parent and child records into the table at the same time using NT framework core. Okay. In the next video, we are going to do update operation. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this video delivered some useful content to you all. If you like the video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel. And please don't forget to like and share the video. Soon we are going to meet with new content. Until then, signing off.